Very interesting move. Very, very interesting move here from the Volkswagen Group. They've just made two incredible strategic decisions within the matter of the last couple of weeks. Well, actually, it didn't happen in the last few weeks. The media has just reported on this. Obviously, Xpeng's share price now has gone through the roof, way up. Why? They're barely selling any cars. Their sale price, the number of cars they sell every month has barely changed. They're nowhere near hitting their targets, but now all of a sudden, Xpeng is the real deal because the Volkswagen Group have bought a stake in Xpeng. Now, make no mistake, it would be perceived by the media as being insignificant, but this is basically the future of the Volkswagen company. They've bought into SAIC, right? SAIC. They've bought the electric vehicle platform. SAIC will build new Audis for them. Obviously, they'll ship those around the world. It's much cheaper for the Volkswagen Group to make EVs, of course, to make EVs in China. We all knew this would happen at some point in time, but it's interesting to see this now play out because not only did they make that deal, but it turns out a few weeks ago, apparently at the start of this month, they signed an agreement at the same time that they signed this agreement with SAIC for Audi's electric cars for Xpeng to make Volkswagen's electric cars. So in other words, China will be manufacturing probably the large majority of the Volkswagen Group's cars within the next decade. That's what I see playing out. I think that's pretty likely. So what exactly has happened? Well, it's now public. Volkswagen bought a 5% stake in Xpeng. The plan is to now co-develop electric cars. In other words, Xpeng will make Volkswagen's cars for it. That's just a coded way of saying that. What this means is this, right? Volkswagen did the same thing. They did the same exact thing with Gotion High-Tech. Gotion High-Tech is one of the biggest battery manufacturers in China. Volkswagen bought a little bit of Gotion High-Tech when the company was undervalued. So very smart move here because Xpeng, while they're at their probably the lowest stock price they've been at, not quite the lowest, but fairly low. So it's a very good value deal for Volkswagen buy in now. Now, obviously, Xpeng knows what Volkswagen's move is here. It's to own the company, to get ownership rights. It did the same thing with Gotion High-Tech, right? It bought a smaller stake. It bought about 5%. Now it owns closer to 25%. It has a controlling share of Gotion High-Tech. Volkswagen plans on using Gotion High-Tech technology in its EVs. They make lithium iron phosphate batteries, next generation lithium iron phosphate batteries, which Volkswagen will use to have a competitive edge over companies like General Motors. Now, I've got to say here, Gotion High-Tech's batteries, their new lithium iron phosphate batteries are significantly better than GM's battery technology, than their so-called ultra super duper batteries. They are. So Volkswagen has that advantage. And now they're going to use Xpeng's next generation electric vehicle platforms. Plus, Xpeng has what Volkswagen doesn't have. Not only does Volkswagen not have a compelling electric vehicle platform that it can manufacture at a cost competitive price, it now does. It's got SAIC and it's got Xpeng making them for them. So it's got those two things. But there's one thing it doesn't have. Volkswagen Group bought a Chinese software company around 6 months ago for $2 billion to try and fix their software problems. Now, that has turned out to be working well for them. Xpeng have excellent software for their cars. ADAS, their autopilot, their full self-driving, whatever you want to call it. It's obviously not the same as Tesla. Works very similarly to Tesla's, right? They use a similar vision system to Tesla. Very similar system, neural network. Clearly, this is of immense value to the Volkswagen Group. Not only are they getting a new platform, instead of spending billions of dollars creating Trinity, they scrapped Trinity. Clearly, they've planned this out. This is a very good move here. They scrapped Trinity and went, well, why do we build our own platform? We suck at this. We're not good at this. They're not. They're not. It's true. It doesn't matter what the media tell you. They're not. Let's just get SAIC. They have MG. They make the MG4, right? Let's just get the MG4 platform. Why don't we make our own one? They're selling the MG4 at a price we can't compete with. Let's use the MG4 platform. Let's use SAIC. Let's use SAIC platforms for Audi cars. They'll end up using them for other Volkswagen brand cars. Let's use Xpeng. Their platform is excellent as well. Plus their software, full self-driving. We'll develop that. We'll invest into Xpeng. We'll eventually get controlling ownership stake in Xpeng. And this will be the way that we can revive the Volkswagen brand. It's a great move. Volkswagen just said the house is on fire. It's burning down. The CFO says the company is in trouble. They said that the car business is sick. That's what the CFO said. This was a very smart strategic move. Now, do I like it? Very dangerous move, because it means the world's biggest automaker, or pretty much equal biggest automaker with Toyota, is becoming a Chinese car company. And what does this mean? Well, eventually Volkswagen will make the majority of its cars in China using its Chinese businesses. It'll be far cheaper. The technology is all there. Most of the world's EVs are already made in China, but this is going to add to that number. So unfortunately, it will give China the very likely reality they will become a monopoly. They will monopolize the car market worldwide. That's what is going to happen, likely as a result of this deal. Now, what do the Volkswagen Group have to say about this? They have made some interesting comments here. Let's just have a look and see what these comments were. First of all, Volkswagen, the numbers here are small. They've invested $700 million for a 5% ownership stake. That's a good deal. Now, like I said, they'll just do what they did with Goshan. They'll invest this 5%. In a year's time, they'll quietly buy another 5%, then another 5%, then another 5%. And of course, Xpeng need the money. They're losing money. Everyone thought Xpeng, good chance of bankruptcy within the next 12 months. Well, Volkswagen come in, save the day. This is saving the day for Xpeng, and it's saving the day for Volkswagen as well at the same time. So this move makes a lot of sense for both companies. Like, obviously, globally very dangerous, but for these companies, it pretty well ensures their success. I think it does anyhow. With Xpeng, we now have another strong partner that is one of the leading manufacturers in China in key technology areas. And I agree with that. That's true. I've made that comment in the past. In a competitive and dynamic market environment, we are leveraging the strengths of Volkswagen and our partners to create synergies, to bring additional products to the market faster. In doing so, we focus on the specific needs of our customers in China. At the same time, we want to significantly optimize development and procurement costs. So Ralph Brandstatter is the Volkswagen AG board member for China. To be honest, he's kind of basically the CEO of the company. And he's trying to say, don't worry, we're just going to sell. This is just for China. We're just going to sell. This is just for our China car company. And yes, China is very important for Volkswagen. They are losing market share to BYD and Tesla in China. 50% of their profits has traditionally come from China. 40% of their sales worldwide come from China. So yes, China matters a lot, but that is not really what will happen. What will really happen is eventually Volkswagen will do what Tesla does. They'll just ship out their cars from China. It'll be cheaper and it makes financial sense for them. Germany should be very concerned because the German automotive market is in trouble. Their costs are way higher than China. They don't have the technology that China does for EVs. And this is simply going to push that further in that direction. Obviously, Volkswagen Group say they have access to $200 billion in loans. They're going to borrow another $200 billion. Obviously, a lot of that money is going to go to Xpeng. It's going to go to SAIC, that development. That's maybe a little bit concerning. Tesla completely owned their business in China. Different thing there, different strategy. Because SAIC is owned by the Chinese government. 100% Chinese government owned. As for Audi's deal with SAIC, the two parties have signed a strategic memorandum to further expand existing cooperation. This will include joint development activities that will extend Audi's portfolio of fully connected electric vehicles on offer in the premium segment swiftly and efficiently. Now, of course, Volkswagen are presenting this as though it's just Audi with SAIC. That's obviously ridiculous because what does the Volkswagen Group do? They share one EV platform across all their brands. They're not stupid. That makes sense. It's not, if you're really silly, you'll believe what Volkswagen is saying, and that it's just Audi and SAIC together. So don't worry, the Chinese government won't profit too much out of this deal with Audi, but it won't just be Audi. It'll be across the group. The group will use SAIC EV platforms and Xpeng platforms. They'll eventually move away from their current electric vehicle platform, which is simply too expensive, it's too heavy, and it doesn't come close to competing with this technology. Xpeng's platform is unquestionably better than Volkswagen Group's current MEB electric platform. There's no question that they'll move to these platforms for all of their cars eventually and permanently scrap the Trinity program, which they've put on hold, but basically scrapped. Following on from the first 2 successful years of cooperation, we are now strengthening our long-term commitment to SAIC, said Volkswagen. Our aim is to jointly develop next-generation premium EVs swiftly and efficiently in China for China. Yeah, okay. Even closer cooperation with a local partner such as SAIC supports Audi's ambition to create a premium market segment for all electric and fully connected cars in China. Think of this way. Volkswagen Group in the past and many car makers have got Magna Automotive to contract manufacture for them, make cars for them. That's what Volkswagen were planning on doing. Remember all the news? They were planning on doing that in North America to make the Scout vehicles. They said, Scout, we're going to make these new EVs, new SUVs. In North America, everyone said, where are you going to build them? Who's going to build them? They said, we're going to get probably Magna to build them. This is basically that same scenario here. They'll have contract manufacturers, SAIC and Xpeng, make their cars for them. They have the capacity to do that. So what else do we know? Well, both agreements include a planned future joint development of new local platforms for the next generation of intelligent, fully connected vehicles coming from the Volkswagen Group. In other words, Volkswagen will collaborate with Xpeng and SAIC to build their next generation electric vehicle platforms for the entire group. That's it. Deal's done. Volkswagen as a group is now more Chinese than it is German. Now, I'm not really saying it's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, they had to do this. They have $186 billion in debt. It's good for the company, maybe not so good for the West, for Germany. Volkswagen said the details of the cooperation on future platforms are the subject of further negotiations between Volkswagen and its partners. The responsibility for the development of new models will be assumed by the recently founded Volkswagen Group chief technology company, VCTC, which will work with Xpeng. So what else do we know about this? Well, there's a few other comments made that were interesting. Production of these new models, when's it going to happen? So Xpeng, they're working with Volkswagen, basically a joint venture. That's the way they call it. But realistically, what Volkswagen will start doing is you're going to start making new EVs with Xpeng's G6 platform. Now, is it just the platform? No, of course it's not. Xpeng is struggling to sell the G6. No one's buying it, but car reviewers say it's really good. Basically, Volkswagen bought a G6. They went, yeah, it is good. I said it was good. I thought it was good. People are not buying them. People in China aren't really buying many Xpengs, period. They're only really selling one model of car in significant numbers. Everything else is just a disaster. It is a true disaster, honestly. Look at the numbers. It's terrible for the rest of the brand. G6, strangely, no one wants it. The Volkswagen went and bought one. They went, this is a good car. It's better than our platform. Why don't we just use this? Get Xpeng to basically make the car. That's what they're doing with the G6. So when you buy your new electric SUV from Volkswagen, in probably a year or two's time, it'll basically be an Xpeng. Is that a bad thing? Actually, no, it's not. I'd prefer that than what I would any current electric vehicle product from the Volkswagen Group. I think everyone would. Would you prefer it to be made in China by Xpeng and Volkswagen by Xpeng? Maybe not, but that's what will happen. So the companies are going to explore future EV platforms. In other words, basically, Volkswagen will use Xpeng's expertise and their ability to manufacture to pivot really quickly. That's what the Chinese are really good at, to make EVs. Then they'll use their software, ADAS technology. They're just going to pour money into Xpeng's ADAS system, and that's what will be in all future Volkswagen Group EVs. Why? Because it's better than anything that Volkswagen or SAIC or Audi or Porsche, it's better than anything they have. There's no question about that. There's plenty of YouTube videos proving my point there. It's clearly the better technology. So in the future, what you're going to see in your Volkswagen EV, your Skoda EV, your Audi EV, your Porsche EV, any of those Volkswagen Group brands, you list it, there's a lot of brands in the group, it will have ADAS, basically semi-autonomous driving from Xpeng. And Xpeng did a great job basically making this technology. It cost them a ton of money. So it's, in a way, it's good to see that it actually be useful, because otherwise it would have been a complete waste, only going to a few thousand cars that are sold in China. In that way, it's good. It does give Volkswagen, they've gone from being here with ADAS, not very good, all of a sudden they're up here. Very smart strategic move. This has also affected the stock price of both companies. Both of them have gone up. So obviously the market is seeing this as a good thing. What else do we know here? Volkswagen said, local partnerships are a key building block in the Volkswagen Group's strategy going into the future. In an intensely competitive market, we need to cut costs, and that's what this will do. So what do we know? This is strengthening Volkswagen's position. I've written down a few notes here. The partnership with Xpeng and with SAIC, it almost allows Volkswagen to use SAIC and Xpeng to kind of push each other. Volkswagen can say, well, we're going to pour more money into one or the other group. You better get your shit together, mate, because we're going to start using more of Xpeng's platforms for this model. And, Volkswagen Group, they have what, I don't know. No, I think they've got more than 100 models in all the brands. That's what's going to happen here. They're going to be pushing them competitive to go against each other. Now, remember, Chinese EV manufacturers have ordered gigacastings as well, structural battery packs. They're starting to put those in their cars. Volkswagen are miles away from it, that ever happening for them. That's what they're going to do. All of a sudden, they have access to gigacastings. They have access to structural battery packs. They're probably going to use the batteries that SAIC use, probably going to use CATL batteries, M3P batteries going to go in these cars. Volkswagen doesn't have to get involved, doesn't have to go, oh, damn, how do we integrate these into our EVs? It's too hard. That's what they currently do. Why don't you see these batteries already in their cars? Because it's too hard from the pivot. This big, slow Titanic, all of a sudden, they don't need to. They can get these Chinese companies who pivot quickly and do everything quickly to basically do it for them. Number two, access to local expertise. Partnering with Xpeng gives Volkswagen access to valuable local expertise and technology in the EV sector. Number three, product portfolio diversification. The two jointly developed EV models will complement Volkswagen's existing MEB platform-based portfolio until they can move on from MEB to something better. Having a more diverse product portfolio also gives them options, choices. Choice is a good thing. 4, cost optimization and synergy. This will significantly lower. Here is the biggest problem for Volkswagen Group. They sell their EVs at a loss. They have no possible way that they can think of where they can compete with Tesla. They can't. Now, you've got to be delusional. There's so many delusional Volkswagen fanboys on the internet. They have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, no idea. They haven't, all this stuff I'm telling you in this video, they wouldn't know the first thing about it because they're so obsessed with whatever brand they're into. They can't see objective reality. The objective reality is this. Volkswagen are miles away from ever being able to have an EV and sell it at a profit and en masse. What do? They just find 30% of their electric vehicle workforce. They've paused their EV development, the EV factory in Germany. They don't have the ability to make an EV. It takes them 30 hours. It takes Tesla 10 hours. They don't have the ability to make one and sell it and make a profit. Not just one, but millions. They don't have it. This is the only way they could do it. It's a smart decision. So now they've got Goshon High-Tech making batteries. From Goshon High-Tech's about to open it's actually about just broken ground in North America, somewhere in, I think around Detroit, a big gigafactory there to build lithium iron phosphate batteries, right? That's a good move for the North American car market. Then it's doing this in China. It's going to obviously export these cars from China to Europe. There's no penalties. There's no penalties from selling cars from China to Europe. That's what it will do. Also, of course, it'll use Xpeng and SAIC to sell EVs in China as well. And it will lower its costs at the same time. It'll start using lithium iron phosphate batteries. It'll use structural battery packs. It'll use M3P batteries. It'll use gigacastings. It'll use existing technology from two companies who are already doing a better job at it than Volkswagen is themselves. 186 billion in debt. This is their way to get out alive and not go bankrupt. So guys, what do you think of this move? The reason I made this live video is because this is completely a game changer. We had Tesla at the top. They were the leaders. Unquestionably, they were the leaders. And all of a sudden, Volkswagen Group, in this basically two strategic moves, they were basically saying, we are screwed. Make no mistake, they made those comments publicly. They knew that information would get out. All of a sudden, we are screwed to, whoa, pulled a Houdini. They pulled a magic trick out of a hat here. This is basically, you're in prison and you escape through the sewer. And all of a sudden, they're out of the sewer into the open air, and things are alive at the Volkswagen Group again. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you got some value from this video, because this is one of the most interesting moves in history, in the history of the automotive industry. There's no doubt. Tell me what else has happened that's changed the game within the space of a few weeks for the second most indebted company, not car company, indebted company in the history of mankind. No other company other than Toyota and Volkswagen have ever owed the bank more than 186 billion US dollars and being about to be disrupted by EVs with nothing that they can do about it. Toyota is screwed, nothing they can do. And all of a sudden, they pull this off. Wow.